It's getting worse, you guys. It's getting worse out here, but we're going to make it. What's going on, preppers? Economic prepper here. CPI inflation just came out and it just hit a new record high, 9.1% for the CPI inflation. And this comes after multiple attempts from the Federal Reserve to get a handle on inflation. And many are concerned right now that we could be facing some form of economic collapse, recession, perhaps long-term depression in the future. Depends on which economist you're following. And renters, a lot of people are thinking that rent prices might start to decline as the housing market slows, and I strongly disagree with that. And if anything, rent prices will likely be going up higher, and more than likely at a more rapid clip, at a more aggressive pace, as more home buyers are essentially priced out of the market. So, just my opinion. None of this is to be taken as financial advice. Now, we've watched Walmart and Target and number of other grocery stores and retailers implement more and more of these self-checkouts. And as these retailers receive their inventories, still dealing with supply chain shocks, supply chain constraints, shortages, commodity price fluctuations, these corporations and these businesses, these retail operations are struggling right now. Their profit margins are shrinking as a result of higher expenses, higher shipping costs, whether it's products being delivered by truck, diesel truck, semi truck, many of the products coming in from China. The cost of shipping from China has gone up drastically over the last 24 months. And in some cases, shipping has gone up 700%. So a lot of these retailers, excuse me, Walmart, Kroger, Target, you name it, they're hurting. Profit margins are being reduced, expenses are climbing, and revenues are declining as a result of many Americans attempting to brace themselves for the anticipation of a recession. With recession, you get layoffs, you get reduced job security. We talked about this in a previous video, how to increase your job security and how to not have to ever worry about lack of income again. We'll dive deeper into increasing your streams of income and increasing your job security going forward, because whether you're prepping and stocking up your pantries, stocking up your storage bins, your storage facilities for SHTF, you're always going to need cash. And I don't care what anybody says, cash is still king. And we'll go into more of that in a future video. We covered that in the previous video, but I think it deserves a little bit more attention to cover that subject. Now, as these retailers attempt to shore up their profit margins, they're going to do a number of different things. They'll consider swapping out vendors. Truckers may be affected because they're going to be offering lower load rates in order to have these products delivered from their distribution centers to the retail locations. Layoffs will come. We will see layoffs. We're seeing layoffs now. We've seen it from Redfin. Tesla announced layoffs. Microsoft just recently announced layoffs. So these different companies, if their stock prices are being hit, they're going to take some actions. If these organizations, if these corporations are seeing their profit margins hit, they're going to have to cut costs. And one of the ways that they can cut costs and improve their balance sheets is to reduce shrink. Now, I worked in retail when I was younger, and shrink was a big deal. Shrink at the store I worked at, I think that they were at somewhere around 8% shrink. And I don't remember if that was high or not for the industry, but that's what it was. Many of you guys might be working in retail. Maybe you can let me know what shrink percentages look like at your stores. Let me know if that 8% sounds high or low. But a growing concern is coming out about these self-checkouts. And so with the self-checkouts, obviously they're trying to eliminate positions and automate processes to increase profit margins, profitability, and speed. With automated checkouts, basically you get to work for free while the company gets to lay off people, fire people, reduce headcount, and expand their profit margins. And you can have one worker essentially supervising multiple different checkouts, self-checkouts. Now, what's happening is, and we're seeing a growing concern about this, is their loss prevention teams are spending a lot more time monitoring the self-checkouts, because as these retail organizations are losing money, they're trying to figure out, hey, where are we losing money? And they're willing to invest a lot of money, in the millions of dollars, to upgrade camera systems and spend money on security teams monitoring the camera systems. Now, I'm not saying any of us are thieves, but the problem is that you could find yourself in an accidental situation where a self-checkout transaction could be perceived as theft. I'll give you an example. You ever go to Walmart or Costco or Sam's Club and you get the big pack of waters, and it takes up so much space, so you throw it on the lowest rack of the shopping cart. You're doing all your shopping throughout the store. You got to do your self-checkout because there's very few actual physical cashiers anymore. And you check everything out. You're scanning, and you overlook the water, for example. You could overlook anything. You might overlook the eggs. You might overlook milk. You might overlook, this little thing that your kid threw in the cart that you didn't realize. You could overlook something. It could be anything. So what's happened is these companies are scrutinizing the camera footage, and they've got your face on camera right there. Most of these new self-checkout systems, they've got cameras right in front of you. They've got cameras all throughout the stores. They've got your credit card information because you're paying, so they can easily track you down, which goes into their massive database of information. You guys, you can just imagine what they could be using this database for. Facial recognition software. So let's just say you overlook something and you walk out with it. Technically, you didn't scan it, you didn't pay for it, you stole it. Or did you? Is it theft if you've accidentally forgotten to scan something? Many attorneys now, depending upon the value of the item, are actually saying that it is. And if you're using a self-checkout mechanism for, paying for your goods, you could potentially be slapped with fines, court order, as a result of an accidental lack of scanning of an item. And these companies, they're in a tough position. They're in a tough position. It's going to get tougher. They're in a very tough position. Most of these companies are financing their inventories. You got the federal funds rate just increased, and we're expecting another federal funds rate increase as a result of this 9.1% CPI inflation number that just came out for June. And guess what? The amount that these retail operators, the retail stores, big box stores, retailers are the cost of their financing is going to be going up. So that's hitting their bottom line yet again. Another increased expense. Every increased expense generally comes with decreased profit margins, unless they have some way of ramping up the revenues to offset their expenses. So, yeah. As a matter of fact, the criminal defense attorney advises most people to steer clear of self-checkouts. This is a big deal, guys, and the implications of, I mean, just think about it. Even if you had to defend yourself, let's just say you get a court order for a $20 item. Now, obviously, a big retail store, a big box store, they don't care about the $20 item, but what they want to do is potentially send a message out to other people who may or may not have intentionally done this, to let people know that they are watching. So a misscan of a $15, $20 item may end up costing you thousands of dollars attempting to defend yourself in court. Another reason why you need an emergency fund, rainy day fund, you know? And they're categorizing these people who get caught up in this mess into a few different groups. So first group is the group that, you know, the intent was to steal. And, you know, they've got a number of different sophisticated ways of determining, you know, who's not scanning stuff. You got, you know, the weight sensors, you got the cameras. So, you know, and like I said, you know, I don't think anybody in my community would do this intentionally, but I want you guys to be aware that, you know, Big Brother's watching, and I would hate for anybody to get caught up mistakenly over some nonsense. And then one of the other three groups of, or categories of people that, you know, end up getting caught stealing, or whatever you want to call it, you know, those are the truly innocent people who, you know, they're using the self-serve checkout, and they could be potentially charged with stealing items, you know, that you rightfully purchased or never picked up. So, you know, there's theft by mistake. You know, these are the people that, you know, I genuinely think that they just forgot to scan it. But these people can get caught up too. And, you know, despite the potentially innocent mishap, you know, these people could potentially face charges. And so this is a very serious situation. And then of course, you know, the third group is just, you know, a lot of these people, they're just getting charged, or they're thinking that they're scanning multiple items. So let's just say you got, I don't know, 3 cartons of eggs, but instead of scanning all 3, you scan 2. So you shoot one, instead of shooting all 3, you just count, you know, you shoot the 1 3 times, but sometimes you miscount. That could be another situation. So anyway, as these retailers, as these businesses are attempting to improve their balance sheets, raise their stock prices, and improve their earnings for their shareholders, it's going to be a number of different things that are going to be changing going forward. We're going to see more of these self-checkouts. We're going to see more innovation and ways that these companies are going to try to improve their profit margins, and we just have to make sure that we're not getting caught up in the mix. So from, you know, beyond shortages and meat plant processing plants catching fire, and China buying up all the farmland. You got to worry about just simply checking out of these stores now. It's kind of crazy. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Drop me some comments down below. Drop the like button. Hit the like button for the video if you haven't already, if you made it this far. Consider subscribing to the channel, preppers. And I'll see you preppers on the next one.